In the world of real estate, brokerages are in a constant battle to recruit agents, and for a long time, the thinking has been pretty simple. The firm with the most agents wins. But is that really the whole story? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the massive churn of agents in the industry and show you why the real secret to success isn't just headcount, it's all about productivity. Let's jump in.
So let's start with a number that should really make you sit up and pay attention. 46%. That's how much the real estate agent workforce is in motion every single year. Just think about that for a second. Nearly half the industry is either brand new, jumping to a new company, or leaving the business entirely. That is a staggering amount of instability.
And all this chaos, it just begs a huge question. With all this shuffling around, is anyone actually coming out on top? Is all this movement actually creating real growth? Or is it just, well, a lot of frantic energy that doesn't really add up to much?
To really get what's going on, we have to look closer at the moving parts. We need to understand the anatomy of this churn, which we're calling the Great Agent Shuffle. Honestly, it's one of the defining features of real estate today.
So when you dig into that 46%, it gets really interesting. You see, only about 16% of agents are actually doing the classic brokerage hop. The rest of the movement? It's a massive wave of new agents coming into the industry, that's 15%, and an equally massive wave of agents leaving the business for good, another 15%. So yeah, more than half of agents are staying put, but the other half is in this constant state of flux.
And this really gets to the heart of the challenge. As Sean Soderstrom from Churned puts it, when your sales team is this fluid, you can't just be focused on bringing people in the front door. Keeping your existing talent, retention, becomes just as important, if not more important, than your recruiting game.
Okay, so this leads us to a huge myth in the industry, something we're going to call the headcount illusion. It's this belief that success is all about winning the numbers game. Just recruit, recruit, recruit. And hey, if you just glance at the numbers, it looks like the top brokerages are absolutely crushing it. I mean, look at this. The top 100 brands brought in almost 230,000 agents while losing only 122,000. That's almost a 2-to-1 ratio. On paper, that looks like a massive win, doesn't it? At first glance, for sure, it looks like a total landslide. But this is where the whole story takes a sharp turn. Because adding more agents to your roster doesn't automatically mean your business is growing. So let's follow the money and see what's really happening. And this is where we uncover the huge disconnect between the number of agents a company has and the actual value they create. This is what we call the productivity gap. Check this out. Yes, those top 100 brands recruited an incredible $276 billion in sales volume from their new agents. But, and this is a huge but, they also lost $233 billion in volume from the agents who walked out the door. Suddenly that net gain looks a whole lot smaller than you'd think.
How small? Just 1.8%. Let that sink in for a second. All of that churn, all the recruiting, the bonuses, the onboarding, hundreds of thousands of agents coming and going, and it all added up to less than 2% in net volume growth for the biggest brands in the business.
Sean Soderstrom really nails it here. He calls it enormous gross churn producing minimal net expansion. It's kind of like sprinting on a treadmill, right? You're burning a ton of energy, but you're not actually getting anywhere. So the billion-dollar question is, why is this happening?
This right here, this is the core of the problem. On average, the agents who are leaving a brokerage are producing about $2.11 million in sales. But the agents being brought in to replace them, they're only averaging about $1.44 million. The result is a whopping 46% productivity gap. Essentially, brokerages are trading out their productive, established agents for less experienced ones.
So how does this actually affect real companies on the ground? Well, let's take a look at a quick scoreboard to see some of the winners and the losers in this new game.
Man, this table tells such a powerful story. You've got a brand like Churn with an explosive 279% net volume gain. The real brokerage added a jaw-dropping $12.5 billion in net volume. But then you look at Keller Williams. They recruited the most agents by far, over 46,000 of them, but they actually ended the year with a net loss of $7.4 billion in sales volume. It's the clearest proof you could ask for. More agents does not always mean more business.
So on the flip side, who's winning by playing a different game? The masters of retention. Companies like Howard Hanna, Samson Properties, and Cummings & Co. are thriving by just holding on to their productive people. They lost a tiny fraction of their sales volume. And the common thread here? A lot of these are regional companies with strong office cultures, which really suggests that community and support are key to keeping your best agents happy. So what does all this mean? Well, the way we measure success in real estate brokerage is fundamentally changing. It's time for a completely new scoreboard. And here's the metric that the smartest companies are now focusing on: net recruited profit per agent. It's not just about the total sales volume an agent brings in. It's about how much of that money actually becomes profit for the company after you factor in things like commission splits.
Now, there's a fascinating silver lining to all this. Sometimes losing a so-called top producer can actually be a good thing for the brokerage. How? Well, those star agents often demand incredibly high commission splits, leaving very little profit behind. So trading one of them for two reliable mid-level producers on more standard splits can actually be a huge win for the company's bottom line. And this final quote just ties it all together perfectly. The scoreboard is shifting. It's no longer about who recruits the most agents. It's about who is best at turning their recruiting efforts into real compounding profit. That's the future of this business. And all this really leaves us with one final thing to think about. In this new world where productivity is king and profit is the prize, not just volume, you really have to ask yourself, is your brokerage still playing by the old rules?